Dear students, after discussing about vacuoles and all other organelles of a cell, I have promised you in the last discussion, that today we will start our explanation, our discussion on nucleus. Nucleus, which I said already to you, that more or less it occupies the central part of a typical cell, and it controls major functions of a cell, and so sometimes it is termed as the head office of a cell. Let us today go into the deep and let us see in details about its structure, function, and if any other characteristics is there, let us discuss about that. The nucleus is usually a dense, spherical or oval organelle. In a young cell, it occupies a central position. In the mature plant cell, with the formation of a vacuole, it is shifted to one side. Yes, it is shifted. Usually, a single nucleus is present in each cell, but some cells may have more than one nucleus. In bacteria and blue-green algae means you can say cyanobacteria also, a true nucleus is absent, but the nuclear material is present. The nucleus is absent in mature mammalian RBC and in the sieve tube cells in phloem tissue of plant. The size of the nuclei will vary from 5 to say 25 micron. The nucleus is surrounded by a double membrane, also called the nuclear envelope, which separates the nucleus from the surrounding cytoplasm of the cell. Numerous pores are present in this membrane of nucleus, which allows the transport of materials between the nucleus and the cytoplasm. There is a colorless, dense sap present inside the nuclear membrane, which we also say as the nuclear sap or nucleoplasm also. I think nucleoplasm is much more common name with which we all are familiar. Now, inside the nucleoplasm is a tangled mass of thread-like structure called chromatin. This chromatin is formed of an acid called deoxyribonucleic acid, or in short we say DNA and protein. I think nowadays very often you hear this word DNA test. This is that very DNA which is present within this very nucleus. When a cell starts to divide, the tangled mass of chromatin condense into long threads and finally rod-like bodies called chromosomes are formed, or it becomes visible, you can say. The chromosomes contain stretches of DNA which carry information for protein synthesis. These stretches of DNA are called genes. So genes are passed from parents to children through sperms and eggs. This is why a gene is called the hereditary unit and DNA is called the hereditary material. Dear student, this is also a very important question which very often comes in class 9 also and sometime in class 10 also. Why genes are known as the hereditary unit, or why DNA is called the hereditary material? This question is very common question and it comes very often. Now next we will discuss about the function of this very nucleus. The nucleus is the storehouse of genes. Genes control the production of enzymes without which there cannot be any metabolic activity. Genes also order the cell to perform specialized functions such as cell division, cell secretion, cell communication, etc., etc. Removing the nucleus from a cell means removing the guiding center of that cell. Therefore, without a nucleus, a cell can neither survive nor can they show any specialized activities. So, from here also, I think you are understanding why we are considering nucleus as the controlling center, the overall controlling center of a cell. Now, the next is our part of our discussion is nucleolus. Nucleolus is spherical organelle which lies inside the nucleus. It is the densest organelle and is very prominent in cell that synthesize protein. The number of nucleoli in a cell may be one or maybe of several thousands also. It contains DNA which synthesize ribosomal RNA. Now, the functions of nucleolus. First point, nucleolus synthesizes RNA, that is ribonucleic acid, to constitute ribosome made up of ribonucleic protein. Secondly, nucleolus is playing an important role in the cell division. So these are about nucleolus. Now, next part which we will discuss is about the structure and types of chromosomes. I have already given you some notes over this very structure of chromosomes 1 or 2 weeks back, where I have given you the pictures of various kind of chromosome depending upon the constriction centromere where it is located. I have given those pictures also. So today let us describe the structure of these various types of chromosomes. A chromosome is a deeply staining rod-like structure with a part that is usually constricted. This is the point of primary constriction called the centromere. During cell division, spindle fibers are attached to kinetochore located in the centromere. A system of chromosome classification was established in 1958. According to this, the chromosomes are defined by their length and the position of the centromere. Now, on the basis of this above criteria, there are 4 types of chromosomes which scientists recognizes. What are they? First one, if the position of the centromere is such that the 2 arms of the chromosomes are equal, then it is called metacentric. Point number 2 is if one of the arm of the chromosome is smaller than the other, then it is called submetacentric. Third one is if one arm of the chromosome is considerably smaller than the other, then this straight chromosome is called acrocentric. And the last one, when the centromere occupies one end of the chromosome, then it is called telocentric. The tips of the chromosomes are called telomeres. So, dear students, these are the 4 types of chromosomes which we can observe present within a nucleus. Now, let us discuss about the prokaryotic chromosomes. The prokaryotic chromosomes are also composed of DNA, but they are circular as the 2 ends of the DNA are joined. There is only one chromosome in a prokaryotic cell. This chromosome is not complexed with proteins, which is a characteristic of eukaryotic chromosome. A eukaryotic chromosome results from the condensation of the chromatin, which happens only during the early part of cell division. In this condensed state, its genes are not active at all. A eukaryotic chromosome must be decondensed before its genes become active. When this happens, the organization of the chromosome is changed to a highly extended form called the chromatin. The chromosomes of prokaryotes do not undergo such condensation and decondensation. So this is about the prokaryotic chromosomes and the eukaryotic also. Now, number of chromosomes. The number of chromosomes within the nucleus is constant in all individuals of a given species. For example, there are 46 chromosomes in a human being, 40 in a mouse, 8 in a fruit fly like the Drosophila, 20 in maize, 24 in tomato, and 48 in potato. As it represents two sets of chromosomes, one set received from each parent, this number is called the diploid number of chromosomes. The nucleus of a gamete, either egg or a sperm, contains half this number of haploid or half this number of chromosomes on the haploid or the haploid number. Thus, a human gamete contains 23 chromosomes. A haploid set of chromosome is called the genome. So, dear students, we have today discussed thoroughly about nucleus, its structure, the inner constituents of nucleus also we have discussed in details. We have discussed about chromosome, why chromosome is called your hereditary unit, why genes are called the hereditary units, that also we have discussed. Why DNA is called the hereditary material, we have covered that part. We have summarized the function of the nucleus, the function of nucleolus, and then we have discussed about the various types of chromosome structurally, that also we have discussed, the metacentric chromosome, the submetacentric, the acrocentric, the telocentric, all this we have discussed. And finally, we have covered or we have discussed about the prokaryotic and the eukaryotic type of chromosomes. So, finally, after that, at last, we discussed about the number of chromosomes which are present in various living organisms. So, this I think we have is sufficient for today. In our next part, we will start discussing in details about the prokaryotic organisms and the eukaryotic organisms. We will differentiate between those two also. We will finally differentiate between plant cell and animal cell also, and gradually we will go towards the process of diffusion, osmosis, etc., etc. So today I think this much is enough. We'll meet in the next part. Till then, goodbye.